So welcome. This is advanced networking for creatives. So I'm just going to hand Shaun the floor, and he's going to have a conversation with you. But before I do that, I just want to talk to you about Shaun. So Shaun has been in our lives almost from the very beginning, when we were in the garage in my house with this idea, right? And it's interesting because I have certain key takeaways from my experience with him. One of them is about living a life of service. And this is who he is. So I always found it fascinating because I'm like, oh gosh, this guy was like on the founding team of Travelocity and the founding team of LinkedIn. And like, he's this major, person that travels all over the world, creative business development and strategic business development and that kind of thing. And then he would send me these like LinkedIn messages. It was like, you need to know this person, connect with them. You need to connect with this person. Hey, this person has something that could support you. Go connect with them. And I'm like, okay, so like, I wasn't thinking in that way in terms of what I love about him is that I always call him a futurist, right? So he's seeing because of the way that he was trained, and he'll share with you, I'm sure, his background, but because of the way he's trained, he follows patterns and like he's able to see things years before we're seeing anything. And so for that reason, I get so excited because I trust now, after over a decade working with him, I now trust that whatever he tells me I need to do, I go do it. I don't even question it. I'm like, okay, he said I need to meet this person for coffee, so I'm meeting this person for coffee. It's happening. I don't know what's going to come out of it. And the most amazing things have happened as a result of this. But Shaun is now our board president, and I can't believe that we have that luck to have him in our sphere so close now. But it's my great, great, great honor to welcome Mr. Shaun Cassidy. Please give him a hand.
Wow, that was quite the introduction, Susanna. Thank you. Can't believe it's like 13, 14 years in development here. Welcome to the show. They say the world is show. A concept, in 1929, there was a concept that was called 6 degrees of separation. Anybody heard of that concept? They even made a movie with Kevin Bacon about it, but it really goes back to 1929, the idea of 6 degrees of separation. It's this really insane futuristic idea that everybody in the world, through the connection of who they know, eventually through 6 degrees, could connect to anyone in the world. And I took that to heart. I really took that idea to heart early in life. And this is the reason you're here to learn from me, because I'll tell you a little bit of my background and how I ended up being on a stage like this and be able to speak in front of you and be able to listen to me and get some wisdom, okay? So I grew up on the south side of Chicago. My father is Irish. My mother is Native American, Cherokee. So she was like 2 generations off of the reservation. And in Chicago, unfortunately, when I'm about 4 years old, my father from Ireland is in a car accident and he dies. So I think from about 5 to 16 years old, I used art as a way to deal with that. I never played with other children. I was always in my head. And my mother could give me art supplies in the inner city, but that was about it. Little things, pens and papers and whatever I could get. By the time I was 18 years old, I had produced a huge amount of art. And an art teacher in the inner city of Chicago wrote a scholarship for me. That today is called the Guggenheim Scholarship. I had no idea what that scholarship meant, but I knew that my art teacher said, you got the scholarship. This is 2 years, full ride, and it's going to be to the top design school in America. And I was like, well, that can't be true. At first, I was like, this is not possible. But this seems like an amazing opportunity, and I had the opportunity to go to this school, RISD in Rhode Island, which means I had to get in a plane in Chicago, go to the East Coast, or I could stay in the inner city with my mother and go to the School of the Art Institute. And that's what I did. My early life was all in the inner city of Chicago, and my entire arts life has been that beginning as an artist, and then eventually an arts advocate and an art person supporting the arts. My 2 years at the School of the Art Institute, I eventually was working right under the president of the design school, like a student president. So I got invited to everything you could imagine in Chicago, from SNL to the film centers I got every inviting thing you could possibly imagine, and I got to totally envelop myself into the art world of Chicago through that experience. After the 2 years ran out, I had to figure out how to pay $70,000 or $80,000 a year for a private design school. And I didn't have any support to do that. So I transferred to University of Illinois, UIC, the west side of Chicago, which is the sister school of University of Illinois in Springfield. That's where I became who I am today. I studied art and design on one area. I had paint all over my hands, always in the world of art. And in the other area, I started communications and business. Tie over here, paint over here. It became the future of my entire existence and entire life. In that experience, after financing my way through the University of Illinois, I did something kind of radical for a creative. I entered the U.S. Air Force, the military. I thought I could see the world and help my mother. And they sent me from Chicago to Texas, and they put me in what's called a special duty assignment. I tested well for the military service, but they probably thought I was unfit to be a military person. I was too creative. So they gave me this weird thing called a special duty assignment, and they sent me to Randolph Air Force Base in what's called a field operating agency. So I didn't answer to the base. I only answered to the Pentagon, and they taught me and put me in a world of data science for the Air Force in the use area of data science. That's computer science and the information system, so I became what was called a data nerd for the Air Force. And so when people from the government in 1974, they put a Freedom of Information Act in our government, and everywhere in our government spaces, there were people that operated that. So if anybody wanted information from the Air Force, that was my office. I was redacting information, and I was giving information out based on law. The majority of it was redacting, by the way. So I got to read the real thing, and the people I gave it out to got to read nothing. And then some real things. I did 6 years in the Air Force. I was too creative to do 20, to be honest. I couldn't take orders after my last year. So I transitioned out of the Air Force. And in those 6 years, I had not been in cold environments like Chicago. Anybody been to Chicago? Have you been to the harsh winters of Chicago? I grew up in those, but I had 6 years of warm weather. I had been in the Middle East, I had been in Japan, in Okinawa, and I had been in Texas my entire service. So I flew back to see my mother my first winter, and I looked around and I said, Mom, I can't do this. I'm sorry, Mom. I'll help you, Mom, but I'm getting back on a plane and I'm going back to Texas because I was used to the warm weather. And that's when I said, I'm going to get a gig, Mom. I'll take care of everything. Don't worry. Because I think at 14, I paid the rent. At 14, I told my mom, don't worry, I'll pay the rent. How did I pay the rent? Because I went business to business. I went door to door. I'll clean your house. I'll do this. I'll take care of these things. I'll deliver these things. Pay me in cash. By the time I'm 14, I could pay the rent. I learned entrepreneurship at a very young age and the value of money. And at that point, when I transitioned out, an opportunity came to me when I went to Texas. There was a startup company today, the internet company called Travelocity. Well, when my father passed away, he left me things that weren't financial, but more valuable. My father was a gifted music man from Galway, Ireland. This is the west of Ireland. That part of Ireland is known for folk music. It's famous. This is where Eric Sheridan produces, and it's known there, and all these areas were music capitals of Ireland. And in that music capital over there, my father would have the traditional language, meaning he wrote music in both Gaelic and in English, and he was getting known as a music man before his death. And he left those to me when he died, and I carried them everywhere, the music. But the other thing he left me was his books. And my father was obsessed with Celtic and mythology. He wrote about it. He made music about it. And when I got into Travelocity, they said, hey, you have an interesting background, military, creative, all that stuff. I think we'll put you in the marketing area of Travelocity. And you're going to help us get well known. And I said, well, that's a crazy idea, well known. And you're a hat, you're doing, you're a startup, and you got all these hats, and this is the area over there. So it came to me 3 months into Travelocity. I'm looking through my father's books, and it just came to me like a dream. Like he came to me over my head, and he goes, look at this page. And what was it? It was a gnome. And he said, so my father was talking to me, he said, wouldn't it be hilarious, son, if everybody in the world went around taking a picture of a gnome, like a roaming gnome? And everywhere they went, they took it out of their garden, and it was so cute and adorable? And I said, yes, Father, as I spoke to my father and that, and I said, yeah, and you know what, Father, I'm going to pitch this to the executive team. And that's what I did. I said, we could create things that they travel with it all over the world with them. And it's so adorable. It's called a roaming gnome. And I pitched that to the executive team. They thought it was hilarious. They brought in the marketing firm today called the roaming gnome. And that became a viral sensation all over the world and became on keychains. It became the omnipresent of the company. And this is before social media existed, folks. There was no Facebook. There was no social media. Okay? So this was my first experience with what I call viral sensations. How ideas could move very fast based on a feeling. When I was there for about 7 years, I was a corporate guy. So I ended up being a vice president for them. And in the transition of that, this is what happens in the American dream. This is the American dream, folks. You're in a startup, and it gets bought. There's another company out there called Expedia. Anybody heard of Expedia? Well, they're a big old animal in that travel and tourism space, and they said, you're a competitor of us. We are going to buy you out. We're not just going to buy you out. We're going to do an aggressive buyout. That means we're going to buy out the executive team, and everybody that's an employee of Travelocity is going to become an employee of us if they want, or they're gone. We're going to get rid of you. And that's the corporate world. I learned the corporate world really quickly, fast in that way. Well, I was valuable. Now, am I still valuable? But here's the miracle, and I'm going to tell you why this relates to networking. So when I come into the company, I take three things. I take a base salary. I take commissions on things I can sell. And I take stock options. I was 27, so I had no idea what stock options were. But they told me that it was a benefit. And if I kept getting more of it, it could be valuable one day. So I became really good at the commission sales, and I'm going to show you how I did that, to take all the commissions and buy more stock every year. When the buyout hit 7 years later, I was one of the employees holding the most stock in the company. And it was the day that changed the course of my entire life and my family's life. I had two options. I could stay with this company, become a corporate guy for them, or I could take the buyout. And I decided at that point, what would happen if I went on my own and I never worked for anybody else ever again? Could I do it? Could I not do it? Could I give up this reliability of a good job with benefits and all that stuff? And then it came to me and I said, I'm not that happy. I'm really not that happy. I'm going to take this thing called a buyout. And I did. 3 months later, the wire transfer came in. And then I looked at my bank account, I looked down again, and I looked down again, and I looked up to the sky, and I looked up to the sky, and I looked down again, and I said, what in the world? I will never have to work the way I have been working my entire life. When I paid the rent at 14, Mom, it's going to be different now. 3 months later, I bought my mom a house in the suburbs of Chicago. And I handed her the key. Then I told my sister, you don't have to worry about paying for college. It's over. You're gonna do what you want to do now. And then at that point in my life, I said, what am I going to do with my life now? I have no idea. I've been working so hard for so long. And it came to me, if I could do that for them, I could help people. I could help individual people with great ideas, brilliant people. I could help genius people. And I became, years later, 25 years of doing what I'm doing, known as the Genius Whisperer. I meet genius and I help them. And I said, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm just going to pick out geniuses. That's all I'm going to do. So fast forward, I meet Susanna. She calls me up, hears me about it, and I'm in her garage in Point Loma. She says, I have this idea. This idea, I think I had when I was living in Paris, I saw things like this. When I was living in Paris, I like this. And I want to bring all the arts community together. And I said, oh, Susanna, this is a really great idea. She said, oh, but I want to be honest with you. I'm not getting involved. This is not going to be sustainable because I don't want to have this go on 1 year and then it fails and I break a bunch of hearts. If you want me to get involved with this has to be sustainable. We're now 13 years in, folks. 13 years in. And you're all in the room because of that one moment in time and a conversation. And I said, we're not going to quit. We're not going to quit. And we're going to bring all that arts community together, not just one. We're going to look at all the industries and bring them into a room. And we're going to build a network, a community. Right? So reverse back. Crazy thing happens. I'm at Travelocity. I'm 1 year into it. I get out of the military. I'm part of online forums before Reddit exists. You remember Reddit? Like AOL, all that stuff? Right? All that stuff. You remember all that past, right? So I get out of DOD, and there's in Silicon Valley people, these nerdy people on online forums, and they said, the internet will change the way you live and work. Wow, that was really novel back then. Nobody believed it. But with my background, they asked me to do a beta of a software today called social media. Anybody heard of that, social media? Oh, back then, I knew what media was, TV, radio, print. But nobody yet understood what social media was. And they asked me to break a software, as I would do in the government space, in the military space. And they asked me to do a beta test of a software today called LinkedIn. And it took me 1 year to break the software based on my training. So they told me this, 30,000 contacts is what you can have, but you got to know all those people. And I looked at him like, you got to know 30,000? Who knows 30,000 people in their entire life? Like in their entire life, you maybe 50 people. I got a friend, I got fans, I got my mother, I got my sister. I mean, who knows 30,000 people? So I said, I'm going to take this to heart, and I'm going to figure out how fast I can get to 30,000 people and what would happen if I did. That's what I did. 5,000. Then 10,000, then 15,000, then 20,000, and then it just kept slowing me down, like what's called an algorithm today. We call it slows me down. And I decided with my background, was there a back door? Was there a flaw that would not slow me down? And that's when it hit. It said you could connect to other people, 30,000 of them. But what was the flaw? The flaw was this. When they made the 6 degrees of separation idea, LinkedIn said, the founders of LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman and all those guys, said we can do it in 3 degrees, first, second, third degree. I thought, what would happen if you did this crazy thing and you put all the corporate data in the world in a business directory and you put all the board of directors inside of it and all the vice presidents and all the CEOs and all the directors of marketing. And you did that and you put it in a directory that was free to access. Why did you do that? So I stopped connecting to people and I started to siphon the business directories out. So there's Sony, right? I wanted to get access to a vice president of Sony. I guess I could just connect to, look them up. Look them up. No, I didn't do that. I said, this is the board of Sony. This is the director area board of Sony. And then I'm going to connect to all of them. Not one of them, all of them. And I didn't stop. I would target companies and not stop. And this today is a concept called social commerce. Social commerce. Social influence. It's a real name now. But I was doing it back then. And it hit me one day, a year and a half into Travelocity, they sent me to Atlanta to close a travel deal with a vice president of travel in Atlanta. And I get there in the old days, and there's the thing called a gatekeeper. And the gatekeeper says, Mr. Cassidy, he can't see you today. Can you come back tomorrow? I'm like, my company's paying for my hotel. They flew me out here. I have to come back tomorrow. I'm just saying, why? Okay, the next day he says it to me again. Can you come back tomorrow? I'm like, this is getting a little ridiculous. I have to keep going back to my company to pay for all this, right? My job as a corporate guy is to close the deal. Close the deal. Okay? So what I decided, what would happen if I traced the entire digital life of the vice president that I'm here to meet? His entire life. His entire internet work, right? And that's what I did. And I got interconnected into somebody he went to college with in Atlanta. And I invited him to coffee. Like, you're inviting him right here. And we sit and had a really nice conversation. And at the end of the conversation, I'm actually here in Atlanta to see this person. What? That's like my college roommate, like my best friend. He picks up his phone, he calls, and he says, don't worry about it. He'll see you in the morning at 9 a.m. I get back to the hotel. The assistant that said you can't see him for 2 days calls profusely apologizing to me and says, can we send anything to the hotel, Mr. Cassidy? Do you need anything? And we'll be ready for you when you come in the door and you do that. And then when I come in the door and I'm going to close the door, I'm going to do the deal. 7 minutes later, it's all over and I'm out the door. My company paid for a hotel room, a flight, and all of those things for 7 minutes. I thought, wait, I could actually get good at this. I could trace digital lives and close deals quick. And that's what I did for 7 years. And that's what got me all the stock. That's what changed the course of my mother's life and my life too. There's nothing more powerful than networking, but I've just showed you we live in two types of networking. The networking in the room, the live world, and the digital world. And the truth is, through the digital world, you can accelerate back and forth. And it has no borders. It has no location space. I've now been in 40 countries. Explain that, how I've been in 40 countries. A person born without a father who dies in there in the inner city of Chicago has now been in 40 countries. Well, how did I get to 40 countries? Because you know what? I had 15 contacts in Iceland. I was just in Reykjavik. When I got there and I landed, we did a workshop. And then the person in Reykjavik took me on an entire tour of Reykjavik. I did that all digitally before I did in the real world. Then you had this crazy thing called virtual, ability to speak virtually with people. So I've seen all this not happen to be real. So I'm here to tell you right now, here's my secrets. I'm here to tell you the secrets. The secret is when you fear interconnectivity, you're losing. Your digital space is a space you should max out at all times. That's weird what I'm going to say to you because it's a privacy world we just mentioned. But when I hit 30,000 contacts, I thought, how could I never stop building? How about if I just don't stop building the network? And that's when it hit me. I will take, based on industries, on corporate data, and I'll put everybody in entertainment here. I'll put everybody in healthcare here. I'll put everybody in business development here. And I would shift the networks out. Those are now at 3 million people. What can you do with 3 million people? That means one post I put out could reach thousands. One post. I'm here to tell you right now that your networks are the most valuable thing you have in life. There's nothing more important than a network. The network will get you money, opportunity, jobs. There's nothing more important than the network. And the proof of that is when you're born, have you ever been to countries where they say there's elite spaces? You're born into wealth. How about if you're born into wealth? If you're born into wealth, maybe you'll have better opportunities than if you're born into poverty. The digital space has eliminated that if you really take it to heart. It will eliminate that. I'm going to stress that for a minute. Okay, I want to get access to 50 people in one industry. Everybody in this room you're all interconnected. You understand how fast that moves? And there's no way to stop it. There's no way to stop the interconnectivity. There's no way to slow it down. There's no way to stop it. It's viral. It will never slow down. And if you take it to the extreme, the networks you have pretty are 1,000 people in one industry, and then 50 people in that industry. And then you have what's called social influence. And with social influence, you can get access to anything: money, resources, partnerships. And it doesn't have to be in one country, it can be in any country. So the secret of networking, what I'm going to say to you right now, I've given you the spiel of how my life turned from networking to this, and how I end up on the front of the room. But I'm not any different than you. I'm not special. I'm not special at all. What I realized was that if I take information to the extreme and I don't stop, I could get access to people quickly. And if I kept doing it, I could actually get access for them quickly, for other people quickly. And that is the number one rule in relationship networking. You take the information to the extreme. You do not stop. You never stop. So if I'm an artist and I want to know all the gallery people that own the galleries, why don't I just interconnect into all 50 of them instead of one? Right? If I'm an actor and I know these are the movie studios, and these are the executive areas of Sony Entertainment and Paramount Pictures and all of that, why don't I interconnect into all of them, not one? The social filter we have, when I lost the social filter, I won. When I stayed in the social filter, I lost. And I lost because I didn't come from wealth. I made wealth. Now I'm going to open the room. This is not about me anymore. I rambled with you. It's about the room. I'm opening the questions to the room. And everybody who's going to speak right now, realize you have the power to put your voice out into everybody else in the room. That is the power of networking. Who goes first? You got your 30 seconds to pitch yourself. Who goes first? Right here? You going?
Hi everybody. I am Ligia Santillan. I'm from Tijuana. I was born and raised in Tijuana. I'm an artist, and I have right now an initiative with Berenice Martinez that's coming up next, that I bring people from all over the world to Tijuana and to our border region to give cultural experiences, so you can see what a creative and unique region we are. So I am very pleased to be here. I am very pleased that I have chose the time to be here, and I'm very grateful for the time of everybody that's come here.
So I'm going to bless you for seeing. This is your blast count. You just made a physical, and that vibrated to the room. Now I want you to go online and do the exact same thing. You should say the exact thing that needs to be in this room. Post it on Instagram, post it on LinkedIn, post it on all your social channels. I am right now in this room with all these people. And then I want you to tag people that you think you need to know. And then I want you to release it like fire until it just keeps rolling. And it doesn't stop.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Denise Rudy. I'm a collage artist. I take little tiny pieces of paper and put them together and create portraits of women. They usually have political statements, and my goal is to represent women's individual lives in different situations, in war, in motherhood, and I'm super passionate about it, and I would rather have my art seen than bought.
Oh, thank you so much. So I'm going to bless you from what you just told me, and I'm going to tell you that there are women's organizations here in San Diego that all they do is invest in other women. They're called VC. One of them's called Stella Labs. One came from Hera Hub. And they don't know what you do. So I think you should now interconnect digitally with them.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jane Hare, and I'm going to spell it because I'd like each of you to connect with me on LinkedIn, sort of taking inspiration. Janehere. Super, super easy to remember. I am a filmmaker, a video producer, director, writer, and I'm also an instructional designer, which I use in corporate marketing and training. And I'm on the board of 2 nonprofits here in San Diego, one called San Diego Media Pros and one called the San Diego Film Commission Foundation, the San Diego Film Commission Foundation. And both of those are about education and building the film and media industries here in San Diego. And I have to say, this is so inspiring. Susanna brings together the most amazing people. So if you haven't already, please introduce yourself to me or follow me on LinkedIn. I'd love to stay connected with all of you. Hare. When I got married, I told my husband I wouldn't take his last name because mine was easy. I wanted to keep it easy. Who's next?
Who's next?
It's more a question really for me. So networking to me is more in person, shaking that person's hands. So I'm going to say something that might cause you to throw me out of this room. LinkedIn has a little bit of an icky factor to me. I think sometimes it feels inauthentic. People go on there and say, I am proud to say, it just feels a little smarmy. How do I get over that?
It's actually a really good question. LinkedIn is a peacock story. It's like, how great am I story. Why is it? Because here's what LinkedIn sells, really. Okay, I'll break down the social spaces and what they actually sell. Facebook sells ego. Instagram is way superior at it. That's why they had to buy it. They're not selling ads, they're selling ego. LinkedIn is the most insidious social media there is because it sells greed. So what you're looking at is a greed story, and that's why it seems icky, because it is. It's an icky story of greed. So it's how you feel about greed that makes it feel that way. It's a corporate job. It's the money. It's the recruiting. They're known as the recruiting space. But I don't get caught up in a name, a brand. It's data that I'm caught up in. If it's in Facebook, Instagram data, if it's in any other data, if it's in magic data, if it's in corporate data, I get caught up in data, not an application. If you tell me somewhere else I can get the corporate access of that data faster, I will use that as well. I'm not caught up with an application. It's not the application that I'm concerned about. It's the data. It's called data science.
I have a question. Because the power of social media is I cannot doubt it. And the networking on LinkedIn, it's all awesome. But from the practical point of view, if I need to get to reach certain person in the corporate world, from the practice, tell us what steps do I need to do? Because I can connect directly, but I don't think that's the way to do. How we should think about it. Thank you.
That's a great question. I get that question all the time, by the way. I used to get obsessed about targeting people like that person. I want that person. But I stopped doing that years ago. And I actually said, I'll connect to that person, and then I'll begin to open up their networks. And then before I even reach with them, I'm going to siphon their networks to me. Like water, like sap out of a tree. So I'll already have 100 contacts with them before they even chat with me. I'll have 50 or 25. So all at once, I'm losing that thing about I'm obsessed about that one person because the opportunity is so great in the other 25, I get confused about how many are. So the mindset is I need that one person. And I'm telling you, the one person is only in the network that's second degrees of that one person away. And sometimes the second degree of that one person away is way bigger than the one in your mind that you did not go further. If you go further, you lose that feeling of that person being the most valuable. And what I'm talking about is not social things. I'm talking about data. I'm talking to you in an inhuman way first, because everybody I meet is data until I meet them. I mean, they're not my family. They're not my closest friends. They're not the people I love dearly. They are data. When I meet them, they're real. They're important to me, but they're not human. And I'll be back and I'll reverse this to you, because you don't think that they're not selling your data as soon as you walk out this room and as soon as you log on your phone, your data is not being sold? You don't think you're being monetized 24/7 a day, every day? You have the option to control that and realize that that's really happening and monetize them against you. Or you reverse it and you monetize them, because their job is to monetize you, your habits, your behaviors, your... It's the truth. That's the corporate world. I haven't showed you anything that's not true. But if you take it to heart, you're going to have that. So the question is what you said. I don't get obsessed with that. When I think of somebody like that, I don't think of them in that way. But I'm going to think about who they are as an individual. What charities do they support? What organizations are they involved in? What's important to them? That's the relationship I'm going to have if I meet them or talk to them or chat with them. I don't even talk work. I'm like, I see you support this charity. I see you work with this group. Why do you do that? I don't talk work. I talk social interactions. Hope that answered the question. Who's next? Who else is going to the floor? Right there, bro.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Chris, and my wife and I started the Soul Factory back in 2021. Later on, more people became involved and it's able to become what it is now. The idea was to have a space where we would create our products, all natural products, where we would grow some of our ingredients and host classes, events, and just basically implement education. Now, I'm involved in other projects, such as El Cuerpo Diplomático de Derechos Humanos, which is a diplomatic body based out of Mexico, where we do humanitarian work in indigenous areas in Ensenada. Also, another thing that I do is I build urban gardens. I beautify spaces that focus on aesthetics and also that gives you something back, such as vegetables, and implement sustainability, education, and what separates conventional to garden grown. So along those areas, I like to network with different artists, use their art to beautify the spaces, and basically the network like that. And thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Wow. He's going to say the same thing he just said on Instagram right now, or LinkedIn, or on any other social channels he's going to have. He's going to repeat what he just said in this room. And he's going to quantify the room to the network and the network to the room. At all points, I'm leveraging a real world versus a digital world. At all points, at all times. What I've just told you is how you amplify the voice with free formats. You have paid nothing for what I've just described to you. It is free to do. It is life-changing free. It is worldwide free. He just gave you out. Everybody in the room now knows what he does. That's the live networking. But now you can interconnect to him. Right now on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff, right? And then you're going to say you're going to meet somebody and you're going to go, wait, he does major organic farm. So he'll take a house and he'll convert that into a vegetable garden in your backyard that will feed your family and you forever in organic farming. How many people you know do that? You just found out he does it. I think we're down to 5 minutes. Where are we at? Where are we at? 5 minutes? We have one more? One more person. One more person comes to the... Here, right here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bernice Martinez. I'm from Tijuana. My partner here, we're from Arts in Baja. And I'm also a professor in several universities in Tijuana. So I just wanted to thank you for your conference, and also that it rang a bell that my dad, when I was in high school, he said, everything you do from now on has to do with public relations, with who you're working with, who's your classmate, because that in the future will be helpful in whatever you do in your job, in your personal life. And he also said, because I told him I want to study abroad, and he didn't want me to study abroad, so he said, okay, you go and you have to work and you're going to pay your university. Or you stay here in Tijuana and you're going to make public relations here and in San Diego, because I studied elementary school, junior high, and then went back to Tijuana, so I was kind of like in both cities. And I think that he was right, because after I graduated, I was in a graphic design agency, and after that, I had several jobs, and I think that he was correct about telling me that advice. So it rang a lot about what you were saying right now. But now that we have social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, I think it's a lot more easy than before, but it's still important in person. And I see that every day because of the students that I know from 25 years ago. They call me and they say, thank you, because you helped me out with the subjects that you gave. And now I'm working in graphic design and not maybe communications, because they like that area more that I taught them. So
Thank you so much. So we're here. We got 5 minutes remaining, and I'm going to reaffirm what she just said. I'm going to reaffirm this ability of networking. Do not think for 1 minute that I think digital networking is superior to real life. I do not. But I think I can accelerate real life. With my background, I'm also able to speak at universities, and I speak to young people, like people that want to start businesses, right? Entrepreneurs. I'm here to tell you, if you're an artist, you're an entrepreneur, period. You're here, you make money off of your own efforts. You pay your own taxes. That's called self-employment. And in the world of self-employment, when I'm asked at universities to speak to young people, they go, you get to ask me, what is entrepreneurship, right? And they get to respond to it. And they come back with this traditional way of thinking and what they tell in the university and say, it's marketing, it's sales, it's all those things. And I turn to them with what my answer is for entrepreneurship. And I get the deer in the headlights look. So I'm waiting for that deer in the headlights look, because I'm going to tell you what I tell them. I tell you, you're a time bender. You bend time for yourself and other people, and that's what you do as an artist. For any moment of time, if you're a spoken word and I'm going to listen to your poetry, you're going to trap me for those 3 minutes, for those 5 minutes. And I don't care if there's an accident over there and an argument over there and nothing else going on. You have trapped me in your time. You have bent time. You have bent my time. And the reason the world that we live in can make so much money is because they're controlling your time. They're shifting your time, and the thing that you can never buy and you can never get back. The day that my father died, I said he did live. He lived through me, but he lost time. I lost that time. I can't get that time back. I'm here to tell you right now, this is my other secret in closing. Me and death have a good relationship. I wake up every day thinking, this is it. This is my last day. And that's how I work every day. What did I do this day? Who did I help this day? Who did I talk to this day? What support did I give this day? Who did I inspire this day? Because my underwear's clean, so when I'm dead, I go out there like my father missed, one day he's gone. I'm going out with clean underwear, and I'm also clean conscience. Because I'm here to tell you, you don't get out of this alive. And if you need motivation, wake up every day and kiss death right on the lips. Death, baby. I want to say, but you're not getting me today. You're not getting me today. And that is my session.